What's going on, y'all, and welcome on in. The balance patch notes just dropped and I want to go through them together with y'all, and I really like the patch notes overall. I didn't read through them too much because I wanted to go through it together with you guys right here, but I like this one because I think it brings a lot to the table in terms of variety, what it offers to different players and play styles. Yeah, of course, some of y'all might have been waiting for a unit that didn't make it this time around, but I do think this one, or like, brought a lot of stuff, and a lot of y'all should be happy or at least interested in trying out some of the new changes for sure. A lot of the units that people have been asking for were addressed, and I do think following up last balance patch, which I thought was really done really well, the designer a little bit, plus Solitaria one, I think that one is really good, and I think this one is shaping up to look pretty solid as well, and I know a lot of people are loving it so far. So let's go ahead and yeah, let's start reading through them together. All right, y'all, the table over here kind of shows a little bit of a spoiler of what we might see here, but let's go ahead and open up the site with all the actual changes, and let's just read through them briefly. I'll give my quick thoughts. You guys, of course, let me know in the comments. Did you like the patch overall once we get through it? And was there any units you wish you saw, or just, yeah, how do you feel about the whole thing in general? I do think the general consensus so far from what I've just read in brief comments on Reddit and stuff looks pretty positive, which is a surprise. So let's take a look, guys. The first one on the list is Blade Aramintha, who I think this was probably one of the most needed buffs for a unit. I know a lot of people were worried that, at least in my community, the higher PvP players, that if you give her too much, she has a kit that could be really oppressive, like really powerful. So let's see what they ended up giving her, and it looks like she's going to have her, from what I saw earlier, they're going to move the skill 2, the flame release, onto the skill 1, and then give her a brand new passive called Flame of Savara, which is going to give herself a combat readiness push when an ally except for the caster using an attack that targets all enemies. So an AoE attack, the two that come to mind are Ran and Para. Conquer Lilius, of course, will do a non-AoE attack, right? Her attack down AoE skill 3. So I don't think that will work. But for Ran and Para, and probably there's other openers out there too, but those are the most prominent. So you get a 20% CR push, which is very nice, up to 25% after Mola. And the Meteor Fall, let's see here, what do they change on it? So they remove Unhealable, and now she'll also decrease the combat readiness of an enemy with the highest combat readiness. So the first unit up on the bar will get their CR pushed back, and she'll also she gains a 50% extra chance, or 15% increased chance to inflict 2 burns, which I guess is nice. So overall, they didn't give her a strip or anything like that, but she will be able to self CR push automatically when you run her with an opener, which you always should, because she doesn't have self strip. Ran and Para, to name a few, are going to be obvious amazing openers for her. Overall, I don't think these are too crazy. I think the players that wanted to use Blade Aramintha are gonna, she'll feel really good, but I think she still suffers in some regards in just the meta and how much immunity strip, right? She has no way to detonate the burns specifically, I don't think, right? No, they kind of just moved. Yeah, before it was just the extra flame release burn, but overall it's just a tough meta for control, and you're probably gonna hear me say that a few times here, that it's a tough meta for certain units, but I do think this is a step in the right direction without making her too overpowered, and I do expect to see her a lot more often, and behind those strong openers I could really see her taking off in certain matches alongside units like Ida, things like that. So yeah, overall nice change without making her absolutely busted. What do you guys think? I have a feeling some of y'all may think they needed a little bit more, but at least this is a good start, and maybe they can add more if people wanted it later, but I think it was quite nice. All right, next up, guys, is Dark Corvus, which is, I was really interested to see if they would buff Dark Corvus, because everyone says his place is in Guild Wars, but even then in Guild Wars he's not as amazing as he used to be. He's not an automatic win necessarily, because the units nowadays are so aggressive, so like so much defense pen running around and stuff like that, but they're gonna give him increased healing on his S1, which I need to see how much this will actually do, guys, because he already had, if you didn't know, I think he already had lifesteal on it, right? Yeah, it's saying here he already absorbed some damage health, but it was so insignificant. But the problem is, I don't know how strong they can make this without it being like busted. So we'll have to see the exact multipliers, or how strong it's actually going to be, to see if this is significant. If it is a good amount, I could see maybe like counter Dark Corvus is flying around. That way he can kind of have some sustain when people want to try to focus him too early. But overall, he's going to get more damage, and here's the big one, guys: Extinction on the skill 3. So regardless of whatever else potential he might have in like real-time arena, I do think for Guild Wars he's going to become a lot stronger because, yeah, you're going to tank there, you're going to sit, and now you don't have to worry about all those annoying Ruels, Maids, whatever might be on defense. Apocalypse Ravi, of course, that can bring back units. He'll now make sure they stay dead. So this is very nice. On top of that too, guys, he's just going to do way more, or I shouldn't say way more, but he's going to do more damage just base, meaning whenever you just skill 3, he's going to do more damage, and it's going to also do more damage with the soul burn. It already did more damage with soul burn, but Smilegate, I believe, said down here, the Devil's Descent will now deal more damage both with and without consuming soul burn. So they're just upping the numbers on the skill 3 in general. So I'm curious to see how much lifesteal he's going to get, guys, or how much health he'll get back on his skill 1. If it's significant, he might have potential outside of his Guild Wars, but in general, he's just going to be much better in Guild Wars, period. So if you already had him, he's going to feel even nicer. Not too drastic of a change, but the extinction is really cool for his kit. And honestly, I don't think you want a crazy buff Dark Corvus flying around, because the way he works, it's kind of seen as anti-fun if you're on the opposing end of fighting him. Okay. After that, guys, so those are 2 ML5s. Was there another one y'all wanted to see? I think the only ones left that are really underpowered would be considered maybe like DJ Bazaar, Martial Artist Ken. Some people say top model Luluka, but then some people say she's still pretty good. And then maybe Faithless Litica. I think those are the rest that are kind of just a notch below the rest, but some of those have received buffs lately, so who knows if they'll get another round anytime soon. But let's keep moving on, guys. Next up, we have Diene, who's going to get 2 debuffs removed now instead of 1 on that skill 2. It's where she does that shield barrier. I know I saw a lot of people wanting her to have that actual skin for the April Fools, guys. I'm going to make a video separate on the April Fools events because you guys need to be doing them. But 2 dispels is obviously very nice. She cycles super fast, so this is going to help out a lot. But with Amelia being so strong, and now you're about to see another Soul Weaver getting some buffs too, I'm not sure if this is actually going to make Diene, you know, as meta as she used to be, which isn't a problem. Anyone that likes using Diene, this is obviously going to be very nice. You're doubling the amount of, what do you call it, cleanses or dispelling debuffs. But overall, yeah, I don't think this is going to make her... The Soul Weavers that are about to be changed are pretty significant, and then Amelia is just much faster and has that CR push. So I don't know if she'll actually have a spot, but if you do want that AoE attack up plus combat readiness, like they say in the notes, then this is obviously going to be straight up way better. All right, moving on, guys, we have Aramintha. Oh, by the way, guys, I do like that they have limiteds on here and that they don't, you know, they didn't go too crazy on the limited buffs. But yeah, I like that they're more open to it, as we've seen in the past, like with Landy. Okay, guys, Aramintha up next. This is pretty significant. They're moving a lot of stuff over. Aramintha, I think, is one that was widely regarded as one of the worst units in the game. So I know a lot of people wanted her to get buffed. So it's cool to see both her and Silverblade getting buffed at the same time. But let's see. So the Ignite, which I believe is skill 1, at the end of the turn detonates burn effects inflicted on a target. So unlike her ML counterpart, she will have a way to detonate her own burns. You have an increased effect chance here now, which is still the same. I don't know why they put it in green here. But they're taking out this, and I think they're going to be moving it around. But the Catalyst now dispels 2 buffs, which she did not have before. That's kind of crazy, guys. Dispelling 2 buffs is huge. And she'll also give Unhealable and increase the combat readiness of the caster. While also, she already had attack up, but now she'll have attack up along with Dispel and along with the self-CR push. They do increase the cooldown, though, by 1 turn. And then Fire Pillar will have 2 burns and also grant herself a barrier. Now, there's a lot of other units, guys, that kind of compete with Aramintha's role as a fire mage, namely Carrot. But I do like the utility that she brings in the form of, you know, her having the attack up, while also now getting a lot more utility and just damage, survivability a little bit with a barrier. Yeah, I like where they're going with it, but is it good enough? Like kind of in the case of Diene, to outplace those other mages or fire units like Carrot. I'm not sure if it's enough to make her that strong, but overall, way stronger than it is now. So I like this change a lot, guys. Aramintha mains, let me know what you guys think of these changes overall. I do think we'll see her a lot more in certain areas, but I'm not sure if she'll like rise to the top of the tier list by any means. But yeah, I like all the stuff they gave her. Okay, let's keep moving along, guys. Ludwig, who's had many rounds of buffs. I actually didn't really read through these too much. Let's check them out real fast. Decreases buff duration by 1 turn. With a 100% chance now to stun. That's kind of crazy. They straight up double it. After you attack when the target is stunned, increases combat rate of the caster by 50%. Okay. So we'll keep that in the back of our minds, because if you don't know Ludwig's kit, he likes to set up his turns. He's kind of like a combo sort of cleave unit where he wants to get bonus damage from his invincibility, but he needs to set that up first. So let's see what they're trying to do here. A 50% combat readiness push, guys, on top of a 100% chance to stun. Seems pretty crazy already, and they're also going to give it a soul burn, ignore ER. Attacks enemies with a Nocturne magic when the enemy is defeated, extends the caster's buff duration by 1 turn. Also getting 20% additional defense pen, guys, and wait, when the caster is invincible, so it's going to be 30% on top of another. Oh, okay, sorry. So before it was 20, so they're adding 10% there, and then they're adding another 5% there. So overall, if all the stars align and you do the correct, you know, like I was talking about, the invincibility setup, it's a net, what is that? 15% gain overall in defense pen, and they're also just going to increase the damage to it. Let's see what they say in the notes. Moonlight Blow will now decrease the enemy buff duration by 1 turn. So, guys, the immunity set, he can kind of just get rid of that himself. Koli will now have an additional increased damage. Okay, guys, I think this is going to make Ludwig a very, very nice cleaver option. He was already viable, but now I think with the increased damage, the CR push, the ability to just get rid of immunity himself, he's going to feel a lot better for players that already liked him, and he has some of the most insane damage in the game. So I never played him. I'm not this kind of player, but just from the looks of how much he's getting, I think players that did like to use him, he's going to be extremely, extremely scary. You kind of run into him here and there, like in the past season. Very rarely, but I have seen him and he can work, and I think with all these changes he's just going to be even better. There also changes the EE there a little bit. Okay, guys, here's what I wanted to talk with y'all about, because this one is quite a doozy. Destina, the Earth Soulweaver, Ruel's counterpart, who has for a long time just been very, very underwhelming. Let's go ahead and look at the changes together. So first one, key to note, I know this unit very well. Her skill 1, now instead of the target's max health, it's going to be her own max health, which, guys, this should be almost always a net positive, okay? Because she's naturally tanky herself, you're probably going to build her tanky. So what's going to happen is squishy units are going to get more health, and the tanky units that were receiving a lot of health in the change before will still get a lot of health, because Destina is going to be tanky herself, more than likely. The skill 2 will now dispel 2 debuffs, and they're reducing the combat readiness by 30%, but don't worry, guys, we'll get to it later. The EE, if you want to use it, you can get back up to that 50%. And her EE, by the way, gives effect resist. Keep that in mind. Healing increases proportional to the caster's max health. That was always there, but they're going to decrease the healing on both the skill 2, boys, and the skill 3. Because Smilegate is thinking all the stuff that she's getting, they need to scale back her kit somewhat, which tells you something. It'll acquire a soul, so she's going to get less souls a little bit too, but the cooldown gets decreased to 2 turns, which is very, very powerful. If you look at a unit like Amelia, who has this combat readiness push as well, although Destina will not have an attack up, so she's going to be a more defensive instead of tempo offensive oriented Soul Weaver, right? Destina's Grace now, guys, check this out. The skill 3, let's go ahead and just look at the awakened form. She's now going to have an option to revive. I don't know how strong that's actually going to be, because that's not going to combat readiness push the units like Apocalypse Ravi. And if you guys have never used Maid, what happens a lot of times is if you're already in a losing position and you revive your team with Maid, if you're fighting a unit like Politis, all those units die anyways. If they were lower or farther back on the bar, the combat readiness bar, and it's not their turn, they're probably going to die anyways because they have that 20% health. Sometimes it's not as great as it sounds, but having a more free-to-play option that has an AoE revive that's not, you know, gated by Maid is very, very nice, boys. So not just for real-time arena or even Guild Wars, but for PvE content, a lot of y'all will have access to a super strong revive now. I think this is really, really nice. And of course, I kind of was saying there's some scenarios where it's not that great, but having an AoE revive is always good. On top of that, guys, you're still going to be able to use this as a just straight up heal, like it always did. With that, dispels all debuffs. It will have the healing decrease slightly, but I expect that won't be too much, because if I recall, her S3 heals for a lot. It does lose the combat readiness, which is kind of disappointing, but I do think overall they had to, because they gave her so much. And at the start of the first battle, I kind of like the changes they're doing here. I don't know if it's too strong or whatever, but they're giving her undispellable buff of just straight up 60% for 2 turns. So on the first turn, combine that with her imprint, combine that with her exclusive equipment, you're going to be easily able to build Destina with a lot of effect resist, kind of like made Chloe and other units like that. And, you know, it's a lot safer for her to be undispelled. So she's going to be the queen of sustain, the queen of cleansing. I really like this a lot. I don't know how impactful it will be overall, but I do know that her main weakness right now, guys, is her just slow base speed. But if you weren't aware, for real-time arena, Soul Weavers now get 15 speed in general, so that should help out quite a bit for this season. That won't be a permanent effect, I don't think, unless Smilegate wants it to be. But yeah, she'll get 15 speed, so for the season in RTA, she'll feel a lot better. This is one of the changes I'm looking forward to the most. I'm going to plan to play a lot. I'm going to slow down the meta, guys, the matchups, because right now it just... everything wants to be fast, aggressive, deal damage, kill things in one hit. Look at Rimu, look at Hua Young. And I think Destina will help us bring back to a more tanky playstyle, hopefully, which some people don't like because it, you know, obviously brings longer matches. But I'm excited to see that overall. Here's the 20% thing I was talking about. Okay, guys, we're going to move quickly here. I've never used Guide or Aether. All I know is that his exclusive equipment is one of the coolest in the game because it just changes his playstyle up. But let me look at it real fast. He's gonna get a heal and on top of the barrier, which is kind of interesting, he's going to get a dispel all buffs. Wow. Which before he did not have that. Sorry guys, I have to check both because I've never used them. I always just use them as silver transmits. Let me know if you guys are the same. If you didn't know the silver transmit trick, you use Guide or Aether, you throw in 6 Aethers into him, and you get 70 silver transmits, boys. If you didn't know that, make sure now, obviously, that he's getting buffed. You keep a copy or two. But yeah, if you didn't know, you could get some easy transmits. So let's see what this notes are saying. He's a unique mage capable of recovering and protecting allies, but overall it wasn't enough, so they gave him more. And Wave of Force will have effects of dispelling enemy buffs, increasing attack for all allies. So he's going to be like a jack of all trades unit that he's a mage, but he can heal, he can barrier, and now he can also dispel all buffs. I think that's very, very nice. Overall, I'm going to say the same exact thing. Sorry, guys, if I sound like a broken record. I don't know how much this will impact like the higher ends of PvP where things are kind of set in stone. But the fact that they're giving him so much, the players that like using Guide or Aether or had plans to, he's going to be so much more viable because he can do way more now in the kit. Even I'm thinking about using him now if he's getting all this stuff. So I like these kind of changes because even if they don't become top tier, guys, a lot of y'all that just want to play whatever rank you're at, if it's PvE, if it's PvP, Guild Wars Arena, or high level RTA, I think this just brings a lot more variety to the game. So overall, it's good. Now this one, boys, is kind of crazy. Koli, which if you weren't aware, I learned this from playing level 5 battles, which is just, you know, playing RTA with level 5 units. Koli has a very, very crazy kit. She just kind of held back because some of the other thieves are better off, and she's kind of just missing a thing or two. But now she's going to get a 75% chance to steal a buff, which is whatever. That's kind of cool, I guess. The Soulburn will have 100% and steal 2 buffs, which is actually kind of nice for only 10 souls. The Accurate Strike now, guys, will give a stealth and detonate bleed effect. So hold on to that thought because let's look at the Baptism of Fire, her skill 3 first. She's going to attack with a dagger and bomb. She's going to decrease buff durations by 1 turn, inflict bleeding and planting a bomb, combat readiness of the caster by 50% when the target is a fire elemental hero. Guys, who are y'all thinking of? Which fire elemental hero that just came out lately is so oppressive, so annoying? I even mentioned her earlier. Hua Young. If you guys have troubles with Hua Young, we now have a free-to-play option, a 4-star unit, so much cheaper on Mola and very accessible. She's going to get a 100% CR push, so that's, if you build her fast, more than likely you're going to be able to just cycle immediately back. You're going to hit a Hua Young, plant a bomb plus bleed, 100% CR push, so you cycle back into the skill 2, where you just detonate that bleed and bomb. I think she's going to decimate fire units and Hua Young specifically, and overall, I really like what they did. They even made sure her imp concentration, which, you know, 4 stars, you guys should be able to triple S eventually. They even gave her more attacks. So overall, very nice changes. Once again, I don't know if she'll be meta, but those of you that have issues with Hua Young, especially in areas like Guild Wars, she's not going to be as spammable, as oppressive, because you guys can just easily blow her up, literally. All right, guys, next up is Armin, and I saw a few people disappointed with this because she's going to lose her heal on the skill 2. I've always kind of liked Armin as a unit, especially in Guild Wars, but she's getting some pretty significant changes here. She's going to be able to get an attack that targets all enemies, which still has that stun effect. So if you notice down here, guys, she can have some counterattacks. She can also have access to Elbrus. Yeah, she's a knight. I am 99% sure. It's been a while since I've used her. So she'll have access to Elbrus, but with an AoE stun, Elbrus, built-in counter set. She's looking to be she's looking to be very annoying. On top of that, she's going to get a 20% damage reduction for single attacks and 30% counter when all things are considered. I believe I added that up correctly. Not only that, guys, she's going to get an extra dispel, and her EE here, I believe they showed down here, well, it'll still dispel 1 debuff, but now it says additional, so now she'll have a total of 2 debuffs, which, guys, if you're not a knight player, having access to dispelling debuffs is very good. It's what makes Troublemaker Crozet really nice on top of his combat readiness push. It's what makes Shadow Knight Pillis, part of her kit, really good because she has a dispel. Now Armin will have access to an additional debuff plus the EE, 2 debuffs, increased defense, lots of counterattacks with a chance to stun. I'm liking her kit, guys. I know a lot of y'all that used her originally already may be disappointed that they gutted some of it, but I think overall she's going to be much more viable, very annoying, and potentially like really, really strong. I'm excited to try this one out for sure. All right, guys, that's it. I think the video went on way long, but there was so much to talk about. Let me know your extra thoughts, especially on units I didn't know too well, guys, like Guide or Aether. But everything else, let me know what you were hoping to see, how you liked it overall, what you rate it. Thanks so much for watching. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace out, guys.